if you want to. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to everybody on Zoom. Welcome to everybody who's made it here to the class tonight. We're really delighted to welcome back to Radical Anthropology Sian Sullivan. It's now Professor Sian Sullivan from Vassar University, Professor of Environment and Culture. Is her title combines or implies anthropology, geographer, political ecology. It's a kind of wonderful kind of catch-all. Sian has 3 decades worth of fieldwork with Namibian communities, researching their connections, documenting their connections to a memory and history of landscape and community. And this has been vitally important work for those communities. She's been an expert witness to the ancestral land commissions for the Namibian government. I'm going to hand over to Sian, who's handling the complex media here, and she's going to be, talking to the room, but also into the Zoom cam. That would be fantastic. If you want to just be so that you're visible there and you deal with. Yeah, fantastic.
Okay. Thanks very much, Camilla. And it's really exciting for me to be here. And thanks to you all for coming, and thanks for everybody checking in via Zoom. So mostly this evening, we're going to be screening a film that I've been involved with making called The Music Returns to Gaius. But I wanted to just give you a little bit of context for why this film was made. So I'm going to show you a few slides. I hope that people online can see the slides, and I hope you can sort of see me. I'm going to be kind of bouncing in and out here. So there are some resources here that you can also look at after the screening if you want to. So basically we made 2 versions of this film. One is 52 minutes long, and then we've made a shorter edit, which is 30 minutes, which is the one that we're going to watch today. And there's a blog as well that gives you some background to the film, so you can also look at that. It was made through a project that I've been involved with called Future Pasts. It was funded by the AHRC, and basically its focus is on sustainabilities or perceptions of sustainability and practices of sustainability and cultural landscapes and conservation landscapes in northwest Namibia, where, as Camilla said, I've been working for some years now. And as part of this project, I've been involved with a kind of cultural landscapes mapping initiative with local people that just has become, it's sort of, well, it's just become larger than I could ever have anticipated, basically, following lots of threads about people's memories of places where they used to live in the past that they can't actually access now in the present. So this is just, I'm not sure how clear it is, but we've been basically putting all of this information onto a Google map. So the information is generated through journeys that we've been doing back into places that are now pretty much set aside as conservation areas. Some of the very key sites in this process have been graves. So one of the things that people have wanted to go back to is to graves of known ancestors, people who were buried throughout this landscape in the past. So this map just shows some of those graves that we've been able to re-find and map in the last few years. This is one of the key people that I've been working with, Ruben Sanib, at a grave of a relative of his that he'd told us about and but hadn't been able to visit for several decades. And I should say that this area that we've been working in is about 500,000 square hectares, sorry. So it's quite large. And when we went back to this grave, he you know, he was able to basically find it almost immediately, having not even been to this locality for several decades. So it was quite an amazing experience to re-find this grave with him in the present. As Camilla said, some of this work has been part of a submission made by the Namidaman Traditional Authority, which is the traditional authority that's in play in this area, to Namibia's recent commission on ancestral land, which was published. This huge report is about 700 pages long, and it was published in 2020. So this was the a report of the Commission of Inquiry into Claims of Ancestral Land Rights and Restitution. It's quite unknown how much restitution might actually happen as an outcome of all of the submissions that were put into this report, but at least now there is a document that names people's concerns about land that they lost in the past, and creates it includes some record of places that people considered they have some claim to. And so that's sort of the recent layer of work that is behind this film that I want to share with you tonight. But I wanted to mention that it started a long time ago, because I did my PhD here in anthropology. It was submitted in 1998. And basically this current layer of work connects with this past layer. So my PhD was called People, Plants and Practice in Dry Lands. And when I was doing this work and then postdoc work subsequent to it, people started to talk about places that were not mapped on any official map of the area. So for example, this is from an oral history with Cairo Hobahas. She says, "I was born at Sihuri in Hurubes. We moved around and moved around. My father was really from this place, Sesfontein, which is one of the largest settlements in northwest Namibia. And my mother was from Hurubes. Really, she's from Hurubes. She's ÄHawaxab. This is Sihuri, this is Saugagam, this is Ongwari, this is the home of the Homs. Here is the field. I moved to and sleep at the places where the rain falls because the food is there." Now, this list of places, as I said, none of these places are any official maps of the area, and most of these places are not places that people can go to now in the present. This term Hurubes, it was incomprehensible what that actually meant to me at the time, and this label, I am ÄHawaxab, it subsequently has become clearer to me that there are lots of different lineages in this area that see themselves as connected with different land areas in the area, but they've lost access to that land in quite significant ways. So here's another one from someone called Andreas Hauerhab, who was the headman of a settlement called Kovarib near Sesfontein. He talks about, he says, there are many places whose names I haven't said yet. There's Noborab, Hubub, Hoda, Kaub, Abaha, and Haroab. And there are more places where people lived in that area. Hagos, Pos, and Gaias were the places where people were living. The people traveled like that between these places. Now, through a whole series of historical events over the last few decades, which included land being taken for commercial farming by settler farmers, and the expansion of Etosha National Park to the west for a period of about 12 years, people being told that they couldn't keep their livestock in this area because of veterinary requirements, meant that people were sort of basically removed from these settlements that they had lived in and knew in the past. Here's another transcript from Franz Koeb, who is part of a group of people who used to live or used to access what's now the Skeleton Coast National Park, and they would utilize ngara, which are melons from an endemic plant that grow on the coast. So they would access these areas in the Skeleton Coast and move inland and towards the coast at different times of the year. So he says, I was born at Ausis, where there are Ngara. I grew up in the Hoanib River, and from there we moved to Hoanib, a different river in this system. And in Hoanib we collected the Ngaras. And if the Ngaras is finished, then we move to Gaius and we collect the honey and the grass seeds there. And the Ngaranin stay to the north of the Hoanib, and the Knubun stay in Hoanib. And we know that after the Ngaras are ripe, then we come together, Ngaranin and the Knubun, and collect Danin, the honey and the seeds together. So in these transcripts, people are talking about a diversity of lineage groups of people, a diversity of resources, food resources that they utilize, and a diversity of areas that they can't that they don't have access to anymore. And so what we've been trying to do is really kind of piece these histories together again and draw them into focus, so that there's at least a record of these realities that people lived in the past. So here are some of the places through this whole area that so people basically would move in between all of these different places through this large landscape and utilize different foods that were found in different parts of this landscape. And these are some of the sort of lineage groupings that were located throughout this landscape, and the land areas that they were situated in. Now, if we look at this map, you can, the area that I'm really talking about is this tourism concession called Panava, and then its connections with the Skeleton Coast to the west. The settlement that people are mostly living in is here, Sesfontein. And you can see, so all of these black dots are places where people, where there are settlement sites today. And this whole area doesn't have any of those black dots. But in fact, if we go back to the previous slide, it was full of dwelling places in the past, within living memory for elderly people at least. So this is what we've been trying to kind of bring back into visibility, if you like. What you tend to find in terms of descriptions of this landscape is that it's now described as a pristine wilderness. I mean, this is a very common theme. So you have these sorts of statements: feel the freedom of the northwestern corner of Namibia, one of Africa's last wildernesses. I mean, and in one sort of fell swoop, all of this cultural complexity is kind of removed. So we've been trying to tell a different kind of story about this landscape, really. So those transcripts that I mentioned, they often speak about a place called Gaius. So I was very intrigued by this particular place because it seemed to come up over and over and over again. This is actually it's a spring within this concession area. You can see the plants here, the greenery that's around this permanent freshwater spring. So you can imagine in a dry landscape, a permanent freshwater spring is going to be absolutely critical for people's survival. So when people were moving through this landscape, Gaius was often a place that was, you know, part of these routes through the landscape. Yeah, and so we've been going back. This is one of the places that we've been going back to. Here's Reuben Sanim again, talking about different places. This is at Gaius itself. The spring is in the background. And sometimes when we've gone back to these old dwelling sites, there you can see these are sort of hut circles. People have been able to say, this is where this particular family lived, in this hut circle that remains in the landscape. Now, archaeologists go to this landscape and they don't necessarily understand that there's actually people alive today who might remember these very specific sites and the specific hut circles at these sites because they're part of their own family history. So one thing that came up when we visited this particular site, Gaius, is that it was a key place where people met because it's got this permanent water source, and they would dance their praise songs, which are called ttes, and their healing songs, which are called arus. So this was when the first trip back to this site. This was one of the things that was said. So in the past, it was good, and the rain was also falling, and there was a lot of food. Now, when they are told all the people had to move from here, some of the people were dying because of the heartbreak, the sorrow. When he remembers his great-grandfathers who were living here, some of whom were buried at this site, and the way, sorry, I have spelled that wrong there, but the way how they were eating and the way how they were dancing and playing arus and ttes, he is feeling sad. Our hearts were happy here. So this visit and this invocation of how people in the past used to meet at this site and play their arus and their ttes there, led to the idea to try and bring the current, there's a cultural group in Sesfontein, back to this site to play their songs once again at Gaius, and that's basically what led to the film being made. So I think, oh yeah, I just wanted to mention that so we did the filming for this film. We organized this Gaius festival, it became known as, so we organized a trip back to this site with the current Hoanib Cultural Group, some of whom, the oldest members of whom had direct memories of living at this site. And we were so excited about this filming and about this experience. And we had all sorts of ideas and plans for things that would come next. And then, of course, COVID hit. So we edited the film. I've worked with a filmmaker called Oliver Halsey, who took the footage. We edited the film in the UK in 2020, and we had our first screening. We had a sort of dual screening at my university, online, of course. And then simultaneously, I managed to send the film to Sesfontein. I get quite emotional when I think about this, actually, because at that point, you know, everything was so upside down. I had no idea if I would even be able to return to Namibia, or when I would be able to return and pursue this work, even though I had a new project had started. So yeah, it was just really crazy. It's almost difficult to remember how crazy it was. And I managed to send the film by DHL on a memory card, and it had to go all the way. It was, yeah, I was tracking it. It was going to all these different places, and it finally got to Sesfontein in northwest Namibia. And this image was sent to me by one of the members of the Traditional Authority there, who organized a screening for the cultural group who were involved with the film. And actually, some of these key people are no longer with us. And you can see they're all having to wear their masks. Yeah, it was just such a strange situation. And here they are with the DHL envelope. That's Ruben Sanib on the left, and Jacobus Knoep, who we'll see in the film on the right. So in Sesfontein, whilst I was very sort of committed to them seeing the film and being able to confirm that it was okay for me to share it before we had our screening, but it was really quite a process to be able to make that happen. Yeah. So they had their screening in Sesfontein almost simultaneous with ours. I mean, you can see how COVID, it was obviously very disruptive for us, but it's been really significantly disruptive for people there as well. Okay, I just have to mention the person who was behind the camera for this film is called Oliver Halsey. He's based in Bristol, and we're actually about to return to Namibia to do some more filming, but we're also currently working on a film with footage from 2019. It's going to be a film of 3 journeys with specific individuals going back to different places through the landscape that they were each that were important to them in the past. So with Franz Koeb, Ruben Sanib, and Julia Dauros there on the right. So maybe in the future I can come back and share this film, hopefully. All right, that's the end of the slides, I think. So now I have to go to the film.
Tin inde saunai ngaguda ti mama dita hui utai kayeta o ana indea Ruben ti mate abise kudu wada hawad makudu wada ti tapkia sani utagi kame indai sani tiki hoa titagi wanito mada kiti abise kuti wada kitita na hubina kitina ko hakiri aiwe na bata kike ngai na pa komti kamote ta kike ngai chita ke na bata ha we na uruwa unti huku na sauku kamti huku I konti huku I hakun namadi au tuingaran nan naran nan I parangan I nan saun ngobaran soun ti huku naku na tita ke ha tita ke di palambate unia ni ka unian kayani kunirin tarakutin na tita ke ai ian ke desita hanuba desita de tike mi de huwa hutu de tikonha in na uvalisa toruhu tikemi
Tita Sofian abisetake iyo kau badake uriba huke ki one abahu tita ke ngabahu ngaka ye hana ke toeha tita ke ngaba anke ha ke hanuba ke me ha akaru bna tu ke antite lobo tu ke anal uzani toe koma tin hanuba ke me tita ke anal uzani ke toe koma ke ye china ba ke toe ta
Ngading ke taman aku lagi. Fernandez, Rebecca. Oh,
Kamu asira ani.
Netra auto nenje desi kuira con cuenta bon horan kere na de kai se de ni con na weta ke ni huwe ni ha ta ke huwe ni ha de ke ne ta kra auto huje na dira con na jamira con
Mataru se ngadi ngai da karen wa ka mataru ni ka. Ai ke no ai kai e ba tin ka.
Ini lo siu tra da. Da. Ini lo siu tra. Oma. Sak. Kali di kene me.
Ora ese siu bi income dira.
Dai na bây giờ phố quốc viên đó ai giao
Ai cao.
Koro pada kering arada ini ngapa nunggu apa
Auro da ngiri e zwa da ngiri e dai ko da nga do kwa di ngau ba ko nga do ngau de kui kam
bút lụa đây cái hàng cái hàng cái cây khuẩn cái bút lụa thì cái hàng cái rồi thì cái bút lụa thì cả toa xí cái đấy bà cái ngay rồi thì mình bằng ngã bằng ngay xí là cái ngã bà cũng sẽ bút lụa ngã là cái tàn niệm cũng là cái tàn niệm cũng là cái của cái sâm ở tại cái tí ta ta bị xoa cái này cái hai hả xoa cái này cô tôi cũng nó chỉ tại cô cái ngầu mày thì uống là chỉ cái này cái tí ta bị hả cái thì tí này nó nổi cái đó
tí ta ra cái nó bị cái gì đấy lúc nó bị là bà bị thôi thì cái ngã của bà ngã cái ngã bà bị ngầu cái khối ở tại cái áo tại cái tôi bùa thì cái khối cái thì cái bà hao tại cái sao cái khối bị na nó bị na thì tại cái tại cái sao我大概讲的过到，你以后在个矮些，我都矮些在个我都会，你在个硬路边在个牛去，那个有这可以硬可能我挂在个硬可以硬，那就爱马少，我觉得个有的可能带那路啊，带我办路啊，我可能我吧，那啥的就我吧，干面哈，改干面哈，那可能那在个有，那可以有，所以这那可能咱们就喊的这个是很难。我觉得可能多。
啊，我讲个子，可以啊，个子。
Ya, bien je, tabona, satu, kung tuma tabon ke dena, bien je kung tuma tabona, bien je kung tuma tabona, bien je kung tuma tabona, ne tara ho amana, bien je kung tuma tabona, ne tara ho kung tuma kwenje dena, na kami ni aga di tara ho amna. Na hun kwena kame kan se ade drasan
Ay, kau kerana tu. Đâu kia đi. Đâu quá. Na không cái gì xuống vậy ba. Ukan sami chance ada in kona mo sami ke to da nga to ke nga kuna me to da ke anu ke bunga.
This one, it's a hori. So this one is a wooden ball that they are using for hori, collecting the hori. So the way how she doing is cleaning the hori salvadora. So when they finish cleaning, then they make like this, like a ball, and they eat. So she divide now the clean one and the dirty one.
Ting en daar er is tinnen hoi. Zie dat ik eigenlijk oud tijd ngayo. Die mama dan nganing oud kijk bij je u. Zie dat ik nganing oud tijd ha. Ini dan uang bosun arin sau. Mana dan uang zie. Ngakon kata keke kayu ka. Ngakon kata keke kay. Ngawahu dat ke hau dat ke. Tunggu kwa ke u ke I nama kuna kai khona ki kai sum thi ta ke nga ta ke ngai ta ke hau heu kai khoin ke si ai khon ai ke sin su kani to de ko ro tina kai khona ki ra khaba kai thi ti ke kai khoi ti po su ron hia ti ke re hau ti nga ti hung ti Tida ke hora ka sita ta ka ua ui ti kiru ai koi amre ta ke mi kha tina ko ka tida tu nga hoi tu sa to kuna ua ti koi ka am ha ti ra mi khoi ra hu ta ka yo ka ta ta khona ta ka ha ka ko sita ke tida ayan ting hu ba si mu ti hora ka se kai se ko kholi ti ko ngami ko ke kuru ba te ra si ka ta ra si kuru ba te ta si nga ba Ada kai kara ko ba ko ba. Ngu ba tu ka chi de chi ba.
Cô cả bên thôi cha thì gọi ní là gì cha
Ở đây của bạn đi núi sẽ về.
Tidak ke yakon hoi da. O ti mama tidak ke hu in ke hu betina ke ha. Tidak ke kai se ngahuna kai khoi ku kha ke nam am se ke huru. Tong ke huru Kuare ke huru, kai ke huru, turu I huai ke abi e chigeren hau ke huru. Unke kenara mo ne kun huat mandang huru hia matita Sita Tina Elovakan Kanama Katakum. Abo what the good Grammy Quenge. I couldn't get Elo handing and a Kaidamagana. Abo what the Grammy. Mati chito ko bagoin mara sin tong kuil ha sa kasira yung tuwa ko talagang
Tira bedrina ngwadi king enai khala ki kamen chagi ni sa bedrina tani si sing ena khamin kur tira ki turu ngas asi suku ngam tira ki huyi ti ka ba ni ku ku ti guru mi sa ki khamin kur tina su nokta ki khamin kur re yang ngam chat ma kaya si bia ki khamin kur ba ngam kai su ko kwa khai
hele gan nuwa dage o kwa ha gui Situ gua ngabagara toa busa. Naida oanya gitu ni toa. Ayo ngangura ni sida guru ngai. Kau kaida ka ha o oga tae dida mi ho biro widede. Ngade kamdida tinita ho biro widede.
I'm Sebulon Hoanib I born at Sesfontein, and I am schooling at Sesfontein. When I growing up, I go into Korihas when I meet Blythe Lutit, and I talk to Blythe face to face and tell him I'm interested in the rhino conservation. She told me she got the auxiliary game cards, which is already employed by community, and they start to learn us how to track the rhinos and the behaviors of the rhinos. Those old auxiliaries, none of them, they all dying out now, and we take over the positions. So I like conservation, I like culture, because those are more important in this country for tourism activities. One thing I remember is when we go into the culture, I remember that we are doing patrols, and I never know that side is for the culturing side of those old people. So I remind for myself, so we were sleeping here, but we don't know exactly. And the day we coming, I remember, oh, this side was a very important side for people now. It make me happy when I understand of those sides where people are coming, gathering together and dancing and so on. So I like nature, I like culture, and I like animals.
My name is Welhemina Suro Ganuses. I was born here at Sesfontein, growing up here, and schooling also here at Sesfontein. And my dream that I have for many years was to build up a museum at Sesfontein for the future generation, so that the future generation can see what the people who was living in the past eat, sleeping, and use. That one was my dream, and today my dream come true. So when Ruben Sani told us about the gathering of the people at Kayas, playing kais and arus, I make for myself a video in my mind to see how it was good there when the people gathering and sharing the food and playing the kais and the arus. And I talked to Sian to help us to make this dream of Ruben Sani true. It was very tasty for me, and really it was my dream, and I feel very happy